Morning.
Robert? Hey, Joe. Good.
Oh, that's David.
Yeah.
This is yours. Yeah.
I'm okay. Yourself? Good. I feel like I've been operating in a legal counsel. There you go. Well then, today I got a whole slew of legal questions. Okay. Yeah. There you go. And then call Mark. Exactly. Uh-oh. That's okay. How you doing, Annie Joe?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing okay.
Good.
Yeah. Good. So how was your time off? It was good. Yeah. I've never been to Hiking Hills. It's a nice part of the state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was, I went on one walk because that's all my body would allow me to do. But it's just,
That campus is gorgeous. They call it the Harvard on the Hocking. My husband's alma mater, so.
Hi, Anna Joe. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
All right.
Good.
Rented his house and it's absolutely beautiful. All of a sudden, carved out a little section of woods, put a house in there, and which is actually kind of nice. How far is it from here? 3 hours. Oh, is it 3 hours? So you go down to Columbus, and then you go southeast for an hour. So it was real easy drive. So it was nice. Kids went zip lining. I'm too fat. Hey, Jeff. What on, Joe?
Good morning.
Hi, Joe. Morning, Robbie. Sorry for the delay. I guess I'm ready to start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Note that all board members are in attendance, and make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 22nd, 2020 board meeting. Second. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Can you hear us, Ida Jo?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm clear.
great. I will move to acknowledge the Secretary of State's Directive 2020-11, the CARES Act funding. There's a second. Second. Thank you. Thank you. I do have a question for Tony. Can you kind of summarize that briefly? It's a rather extensive roadmap for the November election.
Yeah, so the state did receive federal funding under the CARES Act, with a portion of that pointed for election administration. And so we've been anxiously waiting to see if we were going to get any of this funding. And so what the Secretary of State did on a registration type basis, what they did similar to electronic poll books, they came up with allocations. For Cuyahoga County, they gave us just over $1 million, so which is definitely will be helpful, and we definitely will use all of that. So with that, one of the first deadlines today, there's a simple agreement, because it's grant dollars that we need to submit, which Kendra is doing that today, so we're all in place for that. Then we need to come up with a tentative plan on how we're going to spend this money and submit that to the Secretary of State, and then provide updates on where we are with that. So to use this money, there's definitely set things you can use it for, such as anything that deals with ballots, election day, vote by mail, whatever it may be, and then the corresponding staff and equipment as necessary to tabulate ballots, especially anticipating an increased cost. Secretary of State came out with redesigned envelopes for the vote by mail process, the identification envelope and the other ones. So we will, says you can use up our existing stock. However, we will probably purchase all new identification envelopes because you have to then also create the instruction guides for that. And you don't want to have a shift midstream with that. So we can use dollars for that. You can use it for online poll worker training, which we haven't been able to do that in the past. And this directive allows us to do that for returning workers, which is a great thing. It also gives us some guidance on things such as individuals living in nursing home facilities. There was something that happened for the first time in the spring where they allowed us to collect applications from there and physically deliver ballots and then pick them up later. They are repeating that or something similar to that for the fall, which will be very helpful for us, especially since access to these types of facilities is very challenging now during the pandemic. And they also, another big thing that they did in the spring that they're going to bring back is allowing us by phone to be able to cure vote by mail applications. If we have contact information, we can call up, we get that information, we can go ahead and process that applications, which would be great. So we definitely, as an agency here, need to get together and make sure that we kind of have our kind of plan to submit. I think it's due the 27th. Which will be here before we know it. And then from there, we just go ahead and we try to implement them.
The Secretary of State's having webinars on this too, aren't they?
Yes, there was one last week and actually there's one today.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the director?
Yeah, just one of them, I did receive a call this morning from the mayor, who's allowing us to utilize the city hall. We did ask about cleaning after the after election day. So I did tell them that they're working on that, and I did receive a call from the Dramos about that cleaning. I think I sent something.
Yeah, you forwarded something.
Yeah, so we can talk more about that. The process is not complicated, so it's something that we might need to do for people in the house.
Yeah, so we definitely, because that, like other locations, that's what you're going to want.
Utilizing public works.
Yeah. And then I think these dollars directly are relatable to that because it's, we wouldn't be doing that if not for the current pandemic.
Just for those we were talking about the potential for flooding voting locations or distant voting locations where they possible great disinfectant after the fact, and you could find somebody that does that in the industry. So we can talk more about that moving forward. So.
Well, that's going to be important when trying to secure voting locations, so they should cleanliness before and afterwards. Any other questions for the director on that directive? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Did we get you on the Joe? I can't hear you.
Yes, I'm sorry, you didn't hear me?
Oh, yes, I do.
I was
just on the motion.
Yes, I indicated the phone, I believe, yeah.
Great.
I do have a question, and maybe this is not in directly with this particular. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
The question is not exactly on point for the directive, but are we going to be getting some additional guidance, or maybe you've been getting it, Tony and Chantil, from the Secretary of State around in person, and just in terms of anticipating some of the issues that may arise during a presidential cycle? We are used to seeing, incredible lines at the polls in any event, just as a matter of course during the presidential election. Just in terms of, thinking, proactively about issues that might arise. One thing that comes to mind to me immediately is we've been involved in presidential elections where the polls have been summoned to court to have the the polls stay open longer. If you
Try it again, Ida Jo. I see somebody muted a phone.
Okay, yeah. So my question just is, can you, if you haven't had those discussions, my worst nightmare is, occasionally when we've not had the order to stay open longer, and we have had a line outside the door in the past, we were able to at 7:30 say, get everybody inside, basically, who was still standing in line, and allow them to vote. And then, when close the door, so that we aren't going to really be able to do anything like that given the social distancing issue. Having people crowded, if at the end of the poll, when the polls are supposed to close. Just wondering if you are sort of fleshing out some of those issues that we might see, based on our prior experience, and if you have or are going to have some conversations about how we can be proactive in addressing those things.
So, one of the things that the Secretary of State just started last week, and the PEO working group with counties, and people can volunteer to participate in that. And we mandated our staff here to do that. So Peter James will be participating in that. And those are exact type of questions that will be brought forward to the Secretary of State, who is overseeing this group with all the other counties, to figure out, hey, these are concerns that we have. What do we do? How are we going to handle this? And so those conversations now are starting. So again, that was, I think last week was the first one, and we made sure that we have someone who has a seat at the table on that. And so that, I think that will be one of the vehicles to help get some of those things, to bring to their attention, the Secretary of State's office, hey, this is an issue, as well as like the task force that Rob was on. Those are also, I think, things too that'll probably come up through that. So these are some of the things, as well as and I don't know when the virtual conference is. I don't know if actually the date's been set, but we've been asked, I'm trying to think if it was through the Secretary of State or the OAEO, to provide any questions that we may have. And then that'll get filtered to the Secretary of State's office in advance of the conference. I think they're going to try to look for themes, commonly asked questions amongst the state, to try to address that and say, hey, this is what we need to know in order to be successful in the fall. So I think those are some of the vehicles. Internally, we will come up with these things to feed to Peter, to Rob, through the questions, to try to see what we can get. And then what we don't get answers to, we'll have to specifically go to them saying, hey, we have this question, what do we do? So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I will move to approve the ballot allocation for the August 4th, 2020 special election in Maple Heights. If there's a second. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Great. Then I will move on to move for the preliminary approval for the ballot allocation for the November 3rd, 2020 general election. It's fast approaching. If there's a second. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Got you, Ida Jo?
Yes, aye. Thank you.
I will move on to election support, and I'll move to approve to allocate 72 voting booths, 6 DS200 precinct scanners, 2 AD8 automark voting units, and 7 electronic poll books for the August 4th, 2020 special election in Maple Heights. There's a second. Second. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Great, motion passes. And then on to item 6, and I will move to approve the preliminary approval to allocate 5,072 voting booths, 971 DS200 precinct scanners, 388 automark voting units, and 971 electronic poll books for the November 3rd, 2020 general election. There's a second. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Terrific, thank you. Motion passes. And then on to information systems, Mr. Eddy had a request, and I will move to approve an administrative adjustment to the boundaries of precincts Cleveland 03-E and Cleveland 03-G. That was necessary as a result of some development in that area. If there's a second. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Great, motion passes unanimously. I will move to acknowledge the resignations of Mr. Charles Smith from the Woodmere Village Council as a member of council, as well as the appointments of Joseph McFadden at Olmsted Falls City Council Ward 1, Jerry Buckner Sally, Strongsville City School District Board Member, and Tennyson Adams at the Woodmere Village Council member of council. There's a second.
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 Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Did I miss something, members of the board? I know there's an acknowledgement of a candidate withdrawal, but is there one on the docket? An actual name? There is? Yes, item 9. I don't seem to have that. Thank you, Rob. I'll second that motion. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Excuse me. I will move to approve the process, approval to process the payment for 2 voting location managers, 3 voting location deputies, and 27 precinct elected officials, and the amount not to exceed $5,593 for the August 4th special election. If there's a second. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. And on to, I will move to approve the annual DIMSNet voter registration database maintenance and license fee for the period July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 for a settlement agreement set forth as Exhibit C with ESSVR LLC in the amount of $61,352.04. If there's a second. Thank you. I do want to comment, this was a matter that was on our last meeting. We withdrew it because we wanted additional information which staff has provided us. This is an annual maintenance account that we can expect every year.
Right, I think through 2026.
Right. We had the benefit as a result of the legal settlement, not having to pay it, but that time is run. So now we're paying. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And then I will move to approve our personnel agenda relating to Mr. Alto for leave of absence for purposes of getting ready for the state bar examination. If there's a second. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Great, passes unanimously. Let's couple matters before we take public testimony. If Director Pilati can give us an update on the August 4th special election, and then I'll hear from Member Frost as to his task force involvement.
And then after that, at some point, just a couple of quick things I just want to bring up for everybody. Because I'm playing a little bit of catch up myself from last week. So for August 4th, we're in good shape. The room is set up downstairs. As you saw potentially when you came in, we've had 2 people so far come in to take advantage of early in-person voting.
No, muted. So they're in this meeting, and I was just going to be talking.
Could you mute Anthony, all the lines except on Joe's?
Yeah, please. It's muted now.
Okay, thank you.
So we do have an individual station at the back door to take temperatures of everyone, similar to what we did in the spring. If someone were to test with a fever of 104 or higher, instead of having a 10-out sign like we did because of the duration of time, we set up the front corner of the building as a voting section. It has DS200 and an auto mark there, so an individual has access to all the same voting equipment as they do in the regular room. As far as vote by mail, we have processed 684 applications, and we have received back 89 ballots so far. Earlier, one of these items were the process approval for payroll. This is in the previous meeting. We got approval to do not less than 2 per precinct, 16 precincts, meaning 32. Those 32 individuals have been hired by the precinct election official department, so we have them available. We will be going out to these locations on the Monday before. The first one, I believe, Abraham Lincoln School at 9:30 in the morning to set it up. The first time we set up an external polling location with the social distancing standards. So we'll have election officials, election support staff out there to take a look and really make sure that the video that we drew and the realistic and those types of things. And then we'll get the other locations set up. So there will not be a Monday night organizational meeting for this election because we'll be out there during the day getting everything set up. And then workers staff will report at 5:30 in the morning the next morning. So we are ready and prepared for this election.
Maybe you mentioned it, Tony. What percentage of the poll workers will be staffing that are our employees?
I would say that probably a third of them will be individuals who are not permanent employees, but they're temporary staff or trainers or training assistants. Another third will be permanent employees here at the board, and then probably the remaining third will be voting location manager, voting location deputies from those locations, and maybe a couple poll workers.
Thank you.
I just have a question. Can you just describe, what the protocol is for this, sanitizing the machines and all that kind of thing? And I'm just wondering I think it's important for this election as well as the November election to be, instilling confidence in the voters that, we are doing what we need to do. I don't know if you could describe, what our protocol is for sanitizing equipment, just to, so we're clear, and then, whether that message has been put on our website or, I haven't looked to see, but just kind of let us know what the protocol is going to be for election day for that.
It has not yet been put on our website, but it will go up. So we will have our sanitation of an election official. We'll have that individual who will be staffed with a spray bottle that has a disinfecting-based cleanser in it that we use for in-house operations as well as early person voting and spraying. So once a voter exits the voting booth, no one is allowed to enter that booth until it's been sprayed and wiped down by this individual. So we will have that for that part of it. The poll workers will have face masks similar to or same as the one that I have, as well as a plastic shield. They'll be required to wear both of those at all times throughout the day. We will have gloves out there. We're going to try a couple different things as far as check-ins. We're going to, there's a couple different ways. I think that someone can sign an electronic poll book. One is latex glove, and that will actually work if they wanted to use their fingers, so we can provide them with one they can put it on, sign, and then dispose of that. We're going to try that. We're going to try Kleenex, where you can actually wrap the Kleenex around your finger, and that's some other states have done that inside, and then you just draw it that, as well as having an additional styli out there that we can use and wipe those down. So I think we're going to offer those options to the voters to see kind of what are they interested in, what do they want to use, kind of gauge a little bit about what that interest is. So we'll have that for the check-in parts of it. We will have rubbing alcohol at the location with a microfiber cloth, so we can wipe down the DS200. Again, it's the DS200, unless someone overvotes, they really don't touch the machine. So when we have to be careful that we don't soak the screens on the DS200 or an electronic poll book because they have sensitivity to that. So we're going to hopefully they won't have to touch a lot of that in an unprotected manner, but we will have the rubbing alcohol with microfiber cloth to periodically wipe those down throughout the day. And if anyone does touch it with their actual skin, then that definitely will be wiped down before the next person gets access to it. We'll have stickers to put on the floor that say social distancing to keep 6 feet apart. We have some of them here in the hallway in this building, so we use some of those out in the location to try to help us manage where people should be standing. And that's both at the check-in table to sign in, as well as a line for the DS200. So they'll have to wait at that point to make sure that everyone's staying distant there. So those are the primary items that we'll be doing for the election. One of the things that I'm not positive, and I want to ask the Secretary of State's office, is now that Cuyahoga County has a mandatory mask order from a county executive, we need to get guidance. What does that mean at a polling location? We'll have masks that are available to give to voters if they show up without one, but if someone refuses to do that, I want to get some guidance from them on what do you do? Do you continue to let them go, or does this order from the county executive, does that, I just need to get some guidance on that. Yeah.
You want to talk to Mark about that too? Yes.
Yeah. Because I'm not sure how many counties, but I know we're not the only county with an election in August, so that would definitely hope that would have to be a uniform standard, but definitely bring Mark in and talking with them.
Thank you.
Any other, you should get a couple of bullet points there?
Yeah. So just as far as polling locations are concerned, there are 23 municipalities that we have relayed out the Visio poll place maps using correct, I want to say like ratio or spacing for it. And those Visio maps have been sent to the mayors in those cities. Luckily, I don't know what percentages, but the majority of them actually have the same amount of equipment, voting booths, check-ins, and all that, which is great. So we sent that out to them so they're aware of that. We have been on a rolling basis, and we should be done by Wednesday, sending out, we're using a new simple contract that we worked with Mark on, and we kind of borrowed it from Summit County as far as poll places, sending that out to all the locations. Because previously we just did private, this is going to schools, public buildings, all those things to get to lock them down and see who we have and who we don't have. So we're doing that with poll places, and that's a quick update on that. As far as cybersecurity, if you recall, we were very generous and we gave the county our previous MiFis from electronic poll books that they then put out in the community for students who didn't have internet access at home. And so the county is actually getting us new MiFis and not bringing back the ones that were sent out. So we've been working with the county, with AT&T, and with 10X and Secretary of State on this to get these new MiFis in place, and they will actually be on this new APN network, which will be a new thing for us, which is a more secure network that the Secretary of State is requiring. So we got real good progress on that, and we're about there with being able to get 460 new MiFis. Kendra's been working with Mark Musson on the county's procurement department, part of this new Infor computer system they have, the way that they solicit bids for products, previously called something buy speed, that goes away. And so Kendra and Mark have been working on an agreement that the procurement office provided us on how we would tie into this new system when it comes to getting bids. And they're making some progress, good progress on that. Secretary of State's office reached out to us. They want to do a press conference here this Thursday. They were here last Wednesday shooting some videos for this summer conference, and they liked the way things looked down on that first floor with the plexiglass and all those that. So they want to come in and actually do a little press conference here so people can see this is what some of the things are going to look like on election day if you go and vote really in person. I have a call with their office today to get more information on the logistics, but they're looking at 10 o'clock on Thursday. So, of course, everyone is always welcome for that. Had a phone call with the Cavs last Monday. They wanted to work with us on different marketing, registration drives, vote by mail drives, potentially get their players involved in some public service announcements. And they also, for election day only, for November 3rd, potentially maybe being able to use the field house for a downtown poll place just for the one day. So we're going to go check it out. We currently, Old Stone Church has told us that they're not interested in being a polling location. So that maybe could be an alternate location for Old Stone Church because it's really close and a lot of those people. I think it actually, that Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse falls within the precincts that vote there. So we're going to go check it out and see what they can do, maybe help us out there. Also, today will be the first time we've created internally large county meetings. So Cuyahoga, Franklin, and Hamilton. We're going to try maybe every other week for the director, deputy director, and whoever else we feel needs to get on to talk about this upcoming fall. And from a large county perspective, you know, what are some of our concerns? What do we need to do? And just kind of trade information on what we're doing. And the other thing is two last quick things. Part of our marketing, we want to, I'll send this out, but this is vote from home. It's kind of like something on social media that we'll start putting out and hashtagging. I'll send this out, Joe. I'll email it to you so you have it. But we're working with the Eliza Wing, the communications director for the county, on figuring out, you know, how do we push all this out and work it in and kind of get it out there so people, hopefully they're recognizing our logo now. And now they're okay. And this is instead of vote by mail, which this is what this is, vote from home and get them. And we'll do a whole campaign around that.
Can you send that to everyone?
Yes, definitely. So that's what we're looking at for there. And then lastly, one of the things, and I think I talked briefly about this, is that this new directive talks about for the first time, we can do online PEO training for returning poll workers. And this is the first time we're going to be able to do that. And it's part of social distancing, and which is really, it's huge for us. So we had previously started, and this directive allows us to go ahead with that. We previously had been talking with 10X because they have a module that allows us to do some poll worker payroll with the electronic poll books that we have. And so as we were talking with them, that module would allow individuals to self-sign up for classes, and then it would create the payroll cards that we would send out. So we're interested, we're getting more information on that. And then they also, though, they have another piece that ties to that where they can host and support online training. They don't create the training, we create the content. But what they do is they have the cloud space, they have the unique identifiers for people to sign in. And so these pieces all work together with poll book, signing up to be a poll worker in their training. So we want to potentially, I think, maybe sole source this for the fall now that we can do this. One, because it works with the existing equipment, the electronic poll book. We know that they meet all the cybersecurity, requirements as far as Albert sensors and all those types of things because of what they have to do with the other piece. And so you may see that come before you soon, probably at the next meeting, because we need to jump on this. And then this will allow us to successfully execute that much needed piece of online trade.
Terrific, thank you. Any question for the director? Okay, hearing on Rob, is there an update? I know you have a task force meeting tomorrow.
We do, thank you. Aaron, we've been spending a lot of time specifically talking about a lot of the issues that are raised. It's an important task force in the sense, just on the blocking and tackling. Learn what other counties are doing, what's being implemented statewide, what resources are available from the Secretary of State, and making sure the Secretary of State hears back from each county, large and small, from all around this very state. So everything from forward to recruitment to polling location review and modifications, some of the changes in early voting, and vote by mail. Tomorrow at our meeting, we'll have particular focus on voters with disabilities. We'll have Director Jeff Davis, we'll have Department of Developmental Disabilities, as well as others who are advocates in the community, and the Secretary of State's two coordinators, their ADA coordinator and the digital access coordinator. So, that would be a particular focus in tomorrow's meeting. Our last meeting, we had our neighboring county, Lorraine, their health commissioner, Dave O'Donnell, on discussing some of these changes that the director alluded to of what will this look like when we may have different counties in different stages of COVID alert. Ironically, Lorraine started that day when we were on the call. Lorraine County was at one stage. By the end of the day, they were up to red and dealing with mandatory masks just like Iowa County. And we also heard from the Director of Elections, Amanda Ramsey, last time, particularly about the CARES Act directive, which I did speak with our leadership here. They were, of course, on that webinar last week. There's another this week. Our team here is very up to speed already on that. And one thing I wanted to mention, I know our director, deputy director, have been monitoring these task force meetings, but I haven't had a chance until now at the meeting today to make sure it's today. The answer to the question I got last week, which was under the directive and guidance, Secretary of State's interpretation of current law, curbside voting shall be made available to any voter who does not wish to enter the polling location. They say because of COVID, I'm in a risk category, I'm otherwise unable or unwilling to enter a polling location. And that should not be seen, according to the Secretary, as a default. People can just treat this like a drive-through. But it's going to take a real work to be sure that we communicate this well and we properly accommodate every individual who needs that accommodation, while making sure that it's not an accommodation that becomes abused and then overwhelms the running of the organization. I'm concerned. I'm sure you heard that answer, Tony, and it may be even that there are developments in further advisory or directive from the Secretary of State level. That's just one particular issue that came out of it. And that's enough for now. I'm not going this week.
Thank you, Robbie. That task force meeting every other week, or is there a particular schedule you're following?
Every week, there was a week. We took a break. And every week, usually been on Tuesday or Tuesday on Thursday. They try to set the schedule at least 2 to 3 weeks out. So we know tomorrow we're going to make sure the director has the schedule for all meetings coming up after this. I think one of the most important audiences for these meetings are the collective boards of elections around the state. I don't know how many lay people, even those who are advocates in the election space, are watching these, whole many. But at a minimum, it's a very valuable exercise for all of our county boards of elections to be able to hear this discussion on the different topics each week. And it's not us as board members to do most of the discussion. We might chime in on the question. It is the Secretary of State's leadership team, his staff, his director of elections, chief of staff, and then the experts that are being brought on. Very, very good, very helpful.
I understand, Director Body, we're recording these actually, correct?
Actually, the Secretary of State on the course.
All right, so you can refer back to them if necessary.
Yes, and we have our standing managers meeting at 10:30 on Tuesdays. We're actually doing that because 10 o'clock, typically 10 o'clock Tuesday is when that is. So we want our managers to be watching that in real time, and we can push back our meeting to the afternoon.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Rob, for that update. Anything else? Hearing that we have an opportunity for public comment. I know Norm Robin had indicated he wanted to address the board. Anthony, do we have anybody online or over the phones that want to address the board? For public
Yeah, Norm's here. Norm's unmuted. So Norm, go ahead with your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Robin.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, we can. You're very loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. I'm Norman Robin, 32 Norway Road, Jake Heights, broker 122. Thank you, members and director of the Board of Elections, for letting me talk with you about guidelines for protection of poll workers and voters in the upcoming general election. Speaking for myself and do not represent any organ, but for those of you who don't know me, I've researched voting and election administration issues for 15 years, and in some cases, the research is to be helpful. But equally important is the fact that I'm an MD, such that the evolving standards of in-person voting during this pandemic may not be high enough to prevent infection with the coronavirus. Then I have to add that I was not made aware of the various measures that you are planning. So you excuse my ignorance of some of this and some of what I'm about to say. But anyhow, why am I concerned? First, as you probably know, many Ohioans with underlying conditions such as chronic heart or lung disease, diabetes, or obesity are at risk for the worst outcomes of COVID-19 if they become infected. These outcomes include hospitalization, urgent care, ventilation, and deaths. The most affected groups are the elderly, minorities, and low-income citizens. What you may not know is that based on foundation figures, 4% of Ohio in 26 Cuyahoga County, the percentage of COVID vulnerable voters would be even higher than 43% because our African American population is nearly 30%, not the statewide 13%. So any guidelines for in-person voting that you adopt must take into account that nearly half your voting population is at great risk of COVID complications if infected. So basic measures that might work for healthy individuals will not suffice. Second, as you know, it will be difficult to recruit poll workers unless prospective poll workers can see clearly for themselves that this board has instituted the very highest standards of COVID-19 prevention. Voters, too, will avoid casting their vote in person unless they are equally assured that precautions are substantial. Certainly, taking measures to increase vote by mail will greatly help, but today I'm focused on safety of just in-person voters. Third, there may be an inclination to make basic standards the rule for all 88 counties as discussed on Secretary LaRosa's last Ready for November task force that was referred to earlier. The Secretary suggested we could always scale up these standards if the virus were rampant. I think it would be better to have the highest best practices in place in any event for the sake of the vulnerable persons rather than to have to scramble if a new surge of the virus arrives. In any event, I do not believe we can simply follow valuable June 22nd CDC guidelines because I find many instances where essential rules are simply, quote, encouraged, not required. And also omissions such as explaining how incoming voters should be screened. I would be glad to supply you with my own annotated version pointing out what I believe are deficiencies of the guidelines, but an analysis by experts is really necessary. I urge you to think deeply about these issues, and better yet, ask Secretary LaRose to rapidly convene a multidisciplinary group of election officials, infectious disease, public health, and building ventilation experts, as well as affected community representatives, to review, enhance, and supplement the CDC guidelines or other guidelines you may have for in-person voting. This can be done quickly since the CDC guidelines is an existing document and you may have written documents yourself. Once completed, Ohio could proclaim to prospective poll workers and in-person voters that they have among the most protective guidelines in the nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Robbins, for your thoughtful comments, and why don't you, if you have some information, please forward it to, I think you have our email addresses, so appreciate your time. Anthony, is any other?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anthony, any other public comment?
I don't believe so unless anybody else is on the line.
Okay, then. Well, I will make a motion then to recess for the August 4th special election in Maple Heights, and we'll be returning here back on August 17th to follow up on that election. Thank you, Dave. All in favor? Aye. All right, everybody have a wonderful week. Good to see you, Joe.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Sure did. I know, Karen, do I need to sign the voucher for them, right?
Yeah, just check.
Thank you, Karen.
Because it's, yeah. Yeah, it should be a voucher, so you shouldn't have to sign it, yes.
Take care, guys. We'll see you. All right, David, have a wonderful week. So, Rob, I don't get a chance to read that. Are you okay with that letter? Doing something like that or looking at it?
Yeah.